Computer. All right, we have one lady coming in. But we do want to see your beautiful face, Natalie, if you can.
In a moment when I get back to the store.
Okie dokes. Well, let's get started because I know Ramona has a action-packed day as she was just sharing with us. So
Actually, you know what?
tell
I'm
me.
gonna I'm gonna go inside because
Okay.
you are the reason I have to go back to the office. I don't have to go
Me?
back to the office for any other reason other than this call. So let me sit and do it with you.
Absolutely. Don't, yeah, we're right here. Let's get started. It's after 12. So, and as I said, Ramona has a action-packed day. So let's get started. So first of all, Ramona, we want to thank you so much for joining us on our live event on Saturday, which, as I was just saying to you, was far exceeded our expectations of being able to give and receive. And I'm still blown away by it. I think I'm still on a high from it. So thank you so much for that. So, but let's just jump in
Thank you
since
for
we
having me.
yeah, let's just jump in since we only have an hour. So, Ramona, I was reading your bio on your Instagram, and you are known as the Vagina Lady,
Correct.
a fertility specialist specializing in hormonal health and womb wellness. You're also a birth and postpartum doula, placenta specialist doing pelvic floor and detox therapy. All of that is amazing. I think that is incredible. So let's get started. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, so that everybody listening, watching, there's some live, there's some recording. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
So I literally focus on the reproductive system, male or female, from a holistic standpoint. So everything is very natural and very herby and very from the earth type of thing. If it's using stones, if it's using oils, if it's using breath work, I really incorporate that into my practice. I had really, really horrible reproductive issues about 13 years ago, and I was supposed to have a hysterectomy when I was 29. And that is kind of what got me on this world, holistic, natural world, because who wants to have a hysterectomy at 29? That's like really, really, really early menopause, right? And that was not something that I wanted to do. So I seeked all of these different options, not even knowing if they were going to work, not knowing, even what they were. And I mean, in less than 4 months, I mean, I healed myself. My uterus was better than it was ever before. And then I got pregnant. And so from that, it kind of like moved into not just healing myself from a holistic standpoint, but then that's how I got into this whole birthing world, because I ended up delivering my daughter in my SUV on the highway on the way to the birth center. And so that was like a whole new world as well. And so with that going on, I just threw myself completely into everything holistic, especially when it came to the reproductive system. So that's kind of how I got here. I started in South Carolina. That's where I was living. And I moved to Jamaica 2019, but I had an office before I moved. So I would come back and forth, like every month and a half. I would be traveling, coming here, seeing clients, go back to South Carolina. And then after a while, between my marriage ending and realizing that Jamaica is a much better place to be, not a real place, but it's a great place. I realized that this is where I wanted to be. So I actually moved here with the kids. So that's kind of how we are here, how we got here at this point.
Wow, delivering your child in a car, that all by yourself?
While my husband was driving, I was in the back seat. But I did a course called hypnobirthing, which is something I teach now. And it is about teaching yourself how to hypnotize yourself, to let off the endorphins so that you don't feel the pain during pregnancy, during birthing. And I decided to do that because I had the epidural with my boys. And even though I got the epidural when I was like 8 centimeters dilated, so I'm already feeling everything, I wanted to do it different. So I didn't go to the hospital. I said I wanted to go to a birth center. I did the hypnobirthing. And so while I was giving birth to my daughter, my husband thought I was sleeping. Basically the whole time. He thought like I passed out, and every minute he was shaking me like, baby, all right, you're all right. But he was throwing off my hypnosis, like, leave me alone. Let me just do this in peace. But yeah, my water broke, which never happens. My water was broken by the doctors, the midwives each time when I had the boys. And so with her, the water broke. And then like 2 seconds later, she was crowning. And I was like, oh, she's on her way. Here she is. And she came out I didn't even have time to take off my pants. Like she came out in my sweatpants. And then I literally pulled her out and put her on my breast. And probably like 5 minutes later, we got to the birth center.
Wow. Okay, that's a story you only see on TV. You don't expect to speak to somebody who's actually live done this. But kudos to you, my girl. Kudos to you. Okay, so some women may choose to manage their menopause and their perimenopause symptoms naturally. And then we say naturally, and I know that's a very broad term, but what exactly is holistic hormonal balance then? I mean, what exactly is that?
So what I would say is how we start off with holistically balancing the hormones is we start off with detoxing. Okay, detoxing is where we start. We have to make sure that the blood is clean. We have to make sure that we are cleaning the digestive system, the reproductive system, circulatory system, lymphatic system, nervous system. All of these systems need to be cleansed. But of course, we want to make sure that we're not cleaning the good things, like in terms of the digestive system. We want to remove the toxicity. We want to remove the waste, but we want to keep the good bacteria, right? So we want to make sure that we're detoxing in a healthy way. And usually I use like tonics and those types of things that I create myself to detox the body. Apart from that, we go into the liver, because the liver is really what holds a lot of the stuff. So as much as we're detoxing all these different systems in the body, the liver is what holds like the excess estrogen or the excess progesterone or whatever else that could be going on. And so focusing on the liver is also very important. So again, I use different tonics, different herbs, things like that, even down to minerals and vitamins, of course, right? So magnesium is a big one, right? A lot of people talk about magnesium and they're like, oh, it's for sleep. Oh, it's for sleep. And yes, especially magnesium glycinate, really great for sleep. But it's great for other things too. It's great for joint pain or any type of pain. It's great for balancing the hormones. And so we find that when we do these things and we add, let's say, magnesium, the symptoms that women would usually suffer from during perimenopause and menopause, you realize those symptoms now, they go away, because now we're tackling all these different things in terms of making sure that you're like, some women, they're in pain, they're uncomfortable, so magnesium would help. Some, they're not sleeping well, so magnesium would help. Even down to vitamin D3, a lot of us don't realize that it's deficiencies. So when we suffer from anything, perimenopausal, menopause, painful periods, all of those things, the majority of those things are deficiencies. Magnesium deficiencies, vitamin D3 deficiencies, vitamin B deficiencies, and those types of things. So when we clean the body and then give the body these things that is deficient in, you find that now you're not suffering. You're not suffering from these symptoms. So you feel probably even better than you'd ever felt before. Because again, when we're going through that period time in our lives, those are deficiencies as well. The painful periods, the cramping, the bloating, the headache, same thing. They're still deficiencies. So when we can give ourselves these things, we find that we're not suffering anymore, like at all.
Okay, so I'm going to ask a stupid question. I love the idea of cleansing and all of that. So how do we know what we have taken out and what we need to put back in at that point?
Okay, so when it comes to the detoxing, as I said, we really want to make sure that we're not removing good things also, right? So for me, I create these tonics, like for example, like this one, right? Like detox cleanse, right? This is a tonic that you would take at night, right? And it detoxes the blood and it detoxes the digestive system, right? Then the other one is Supreme Body. this is the one that you would take in the morning, okay? So it gives you energy. It also detoxes your circulatory system, your digestive system, your reproductive system, all these different nervous system, all of these different systems. So we want to be careful in terms of how we detox. And there are herbs that we can use, right? Of course, these are made of herbs. So if you're saying, okay, things like moringa is always good, right? Things like burdock root. It's on the tip of my tongue. Burdock root. Let me look because I can't remember right now.
What about dandelion? Would that be one?
Dandelion is great. Dandelion is really good. Guinea hen weed is also really good. And so you can buy these herbs and you can make a tea with it and you can drink it. And I do feel like that would help as long as you're making sure that when you're buying your herbs are not in plastic, right? Plastic is another issue. It has BPA, it has phthalates. And so that in itself is not very good for us. It's going to throw off your hormones again. So we just want to be careful when it is that we're buying our herbs. But yes, dandelion would be really great. Burdock root would be good. Even ginseng is really good. Slippery elm is good. And then from there, depending on, like I would usually say, if you're going to make your own tea, I would say that make sure that the water that you're using is a healthy water. You don't want to use regular pipe water. I would suggest using, if you're in Jamaica, I would suggest using spring water. If you live in the States, for example, I would say it's better to use distilled water or purified water to make these teas. And when you make them, they don't have to be hot. So I don't want people like, oh, I'm not really a tea person, I'm a coffee person, we can't do the tea thing. Don't worry about that. You can make it and you can have it as like an iced tea and you can drink it and drink it cold if that is what you prefer. When it comes to healing our body, we just have to be realistic. We have to be realistic with ourselves, with the time that we have, the money that we have to spend. We have to be realistic with those things so that the healing can happen, so that we can be consistent, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. No, I think I agree. Nats, do you have anything you want to share with those herbal stuff on your side? Because I know that's your forte.
Yeah, what I wanted to ask Ramona is, we know that red raspberry is amazing for womb wellness. Does red raspberry play a role for the perimenopausal woman?
Yes, it does. I suggest that every woman, from you are at least 11, 12, if you haven't gotten your period then, all the way up until menopause is over, I suggest red raspberry. Red raspberry is a beautiful herb that tones the uterus muscle, right? It's really about the uterus itself. So I would definitely recommend that. And that can be done as a tea also. You can throw it in a smoothie. It really just depends, again, on your routine, your daily routine. But red raspberry is really great for uterine health.
Okay. That's good to know. So, I mean, I know Natalie specializes this and stuff, but I think it's important for women to educate themselves and seek advice from professionals like yourself and Natalie on which herbs to take, which ones, because when you go on the internet, oh my God, the list is yay long of what you should be taking. So I really definitely recommend that you speak to somebody who is proficient in it, who specializes it. So I think that's great.
Absolutely, because there's little things like, go ahead.
Little things like, no, go ahead.
Little things like if you're taking moringa, but you already have low blood pressure, one of the properties of moringa is that it lowers blood pressure. So if you already have low blood pressure, moringa might not be a herb that you want to take. So there are certain intricacies. We think of herbs as natural, and they are, but they do have profound impact on the body. So we do need to be mindful.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. What I also think that we need to be aware of is things like our blood type, right? So what works for A positive might not necessarily work for an O positive. And so I think that's something that we have to also be aware of. And that's just across the board, no matter if it's menopause or anything else. So knowing your blood type, eating for your blood type, nutrition wise for your blood type, maybe vitamins, minerals, herbs, whatever, these things also make a difference as well. So you'll see some people that will take something and say, oh, it don't really work for me, or oh, maybe it's your blood type, maybe it's because you need to detox, maybe it's, you know, many different things.
Okay.
And of course, we want to look on like the herbs and how they're prepared. You know what I mean? Was it dried in the sun? You know, versus was it dehydrated? You know, I mean, these things also make a difference. So just as much as in the pharmacy, they have to be anal about certain things. It's the same thing with herbs. I know everybody thinks, oh, it's just a herb, take a herb, as Natalie says, but it's not like that. Like, you really have to know what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So one of the predominant symptoms that women experience at this stage of life are things of, I'm going to use the word emotional nature. So they're a neurological situation. So we're talking about things like anxiety, stress levels go up, cortisol goes up, depression, right? Now, there are herbs that are called adaptogens, right? Can you tell us a little bit about what adaptogens are and how including adaptogens in your routine can actually help with some of the symptoms that women experience at this time?
Okay, so when we talk about things like anxiety and high cortisol and all of these different things, again, these things, if we detox, you will find that those things are very limited, right? Detoxing is very important because now we've removed so many of the negative things. Now our body can actually absorb certain things, right? So things like catnip herb, really great for you, right? Chamomile, everybody knows chamomile, right? And you're going to find that these herbs that create more of a relaxing thing, relaxing feeling, are going to be better. I have even realized that even with shrooms, that has helped a few of my clients also that suffer from perimenopause and menopause as well, which I was a little surprised in, to be honest with you. But I've seen where it's made a huge difference in their lives. Also, if we look at things like what's the herb? Like cayenne pepper, for example, right? Cayenne pepper would be a really great herb also, right? Because again, this is going to help with anxiety. This is going to help with the nervous system, right? And again, these things are what affects that type of mood and all of that. So I would definitely recommend those herbs for sure to kind of get that mental, emotional part more balanced, I would say, for the woman, for sure.
Boy, Ramona, you say cayenne and I just think pepper.
It is.
I think it's gonna burn going in and burn going out. So like, how do you use it and what do you recommend? Like,
so you can literally, I mean, from it's a good grade of cayenne pepper, you can literally buy it. If it's that you want to cook with it more, if it's that you want to put it in your shot with turmeric, I wouldn't recommend ginger. Never mix cayenne pepper and ginger. If you think cayenne pepper hot now and you put ginger in it, oh God, you will die. Literally, you will die. So never mix ginger with cayenne pepper. But for me, cayenne pepper also gives this boost of energy, right? So like I was showing you the Supreme Body, I have clients that are like crackheads with the Supreme Body. When you taste it, it just tastes like cayenne pepper, even though it has many other herbs in it, right? And what happens is that the cayenne pepper just goes straight to the nervous system, right? And of course, it goes straight to the digestive system. And everything starts in the gut. Everything. Autism starts in the gut. Menopause starts in the gut. High blood pressure starts in the gut. The gut is everything, right? So yeah, cayenne pepper for sure. I would recommend that to every single woman who is suffering.
And Wow, I would never thought that either. All right, somebody had asked a question here. She said, in her experience, magnesium has been super beneficial. How does it affect us during this phase? So, other than the magnesium for sleep, how does magnesium help with other menopause symptoms?
Well, because we're usually deficient of magnesium, once we get it into our body, we will find that if it is that we suffer from back pain or joint pain or any kind of pain that goes away, headaches, those types of things. If we, of course, if sleep is an issue, it also helps with sleep, especially depending on when you take the magnesium, right? So usually I would recommend, and of course, I would recommend glycinate, right? Magnesium glycinate. If it's a capsule, make sure that the capsule is a veggie capsule. Make sure that when you look at your label, the fillers, okay? Because a lot of times people hear, oh, I'm supposed to buy magnesium glycinate, and they buy it and they don't look at the fillers, right? What are the fillers? We want healthy fillers. We want things like silica. We don't, the potato starch and the rice flour and all of those different things, they stress out the digestive system, right? Because again, I mean, it's rice, right? What is rice doing in my vitamin? What is potato starch doing in my vitamin, right? So we want to be able to use natural, or not necessarily natural, but healthier fillers in our magnesium, right? So magnesium glycinate, I would say for sure, if you are a woman that is suffering with perimenopause or menopause, I would say that you want to be on at least 1,000 milligrams, at least. Okay. I would also make sure that it is a veggie capsule. As I said, if you look at your capsules and it says gelatin, it's not good. Okay, gelatin is meat. Gelatin is like beef.
Wow. Okay.
Right? And if you are suffering from menopause or perimenopause, beef is not your friend.
Okay? Beef is not your friend.
It's not your friend.
Well, right? That's a great intro to what we're going to be talking about next, which is diet. So explain that for us.
Okay, so remember I was telling you everything starts in the gut, right? So when we eat foods that stress out our gut, make our gut have to work harder, right? It depletes the body, right? So instead of doing a beef, and again, there are things that might be in beef or might be in pork or might be in liver, for example, that have that, for example, like iron, right? A lot of people will eat liver because they'll say, oh, it has a lot of iron. Yes, it has a lot of iron, but it has a lot of iron mixed with a lot of doo-doo, mixed with a lot of this, mixed with a lot of that, because it's the digestive system, right? It is not the healthiest part of the animal, right? And so we want to make sure that when we're doing these things, we are using the better part, either of the animal, or it is that we're eating an animal that does not stress out our digestive system. So foods like, chicken that doesn't have hormones in it, obviously, would be a better option than beef, right? Remember, the cow is full of mucus. It is a mucus animal, right? It's not really good for anybody, right? So it's dairy, and dairy is not good for us, right? Yes, there's some things in terms of you go on a special type of diet, and if you eat dairy, you can lose weight. Yeah, you can lose weight, but you're messing up your digestive system in the long run, right? So the cow itself, if you're going to eat the cow, make it worth it. Make it be where, listen, when I go to that friend's house, she made the best short ribs ever. So you're going to eat the short ribs, but you don't want to have it every week because beef takes almost 30 days to digest out of your body. It's a long freaking time for one little piece of nice steak in front of you, a little 10-ounce, 15-ounce steak. It takes forever, right? Same thing with pork. Pork takes even a little longer than the beef, right? So as we eat these heavy foods, it stresses out the digestive system. Just like if we were to eat things like rice, right? Rice, harder to digest. So we have to watch our carbs. So I would suggest gluten-free is really what you want to do if you're suffering from perimenopause or menopause. Gluten-free would be a much better option, right? Then we can look on things like our seasonings, right? So we are people who season, right? So we are going to use with onion and with scallion and all of these things. Inflammation is a huge issue when it comes to perimenopause and menopause, right? It creates bloating, it creates all of these different things, right? It makes you put on weight. So using yellow onion and using white onion is not it. That is going to make your perimenopausal and your menopausal symptoms worse. Okay? You want to use purple onion, right? That is the best onion to use. Then
Why?
we go
Sorry to cut you there. Why? What's the difference with purple versus regular?
It doesn't create inflammation. It doesn't have
Really?
acid. Yeah. So yellow onion and white onion contain acid, and that is what creates the inflammation.
Wow. Okay, sorry, continue.
No, man, you're fine. So things like potato, right? Potato is a big part of our diet, right? If it's mashed potato, if you're eating fries, if you put the potato in your soup, potato is a thing. But potato creates a lot of inflammation, and I mean Irish potato, a lot of inflammation. So that's something that a woman going through peri or menopause would want to stay away from as well.
Wow. Okay, so now you're freaking us out about what you stay away from. What should we be eating?
Yes.
So of course, the normal vegetables are always great, right? What we want to do is we want to be anal kind of about where we get our things. Just like how I'm telling you, you want to be anal about where you buy your herbs or whatever the type, or how the herbs are packaged or whatever. You also want to be anal. I just lost my train of thought.
About where you get your herbs from.
Yeah, that's
and
what I
also
said.
our potatoes. You were talking. I said what the potatoes. So
Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Okay.
Oh, and where you get your vegetables. You want to be
Right,
picky
where you get
about
your
where you're
vegetables
getting your
from,
vegetables.
right?
Right. Okay.
So, because a lot of times they'll spray things on the vegetables and they spray things on the fruits, if it's pesticides or whatever. And we can understand because they're trying to make sure that it doesn't spoil and that kind of thing, because this is how they make their money, right?
Right.
But it's not good for our bodies, right? Digestive system or any other system. But removing that part, most vegetables are going to be pretty good for you. I mean, other than something like broccoli. Broccoli is not really a real vegetable, not really real, it's GMO. But the majority of them are fine, I would say. So if you're talking about like pak choy, if you're talking about romaine lettuce, we're talking, I mean, I don't too mind Brussels sprouts. I don't really mind that too much. But the majority of them are fine. As a matter of fact, what I'll do is I will send you a food list.
Oh, excellent. And I'll add it to the email. Oh, that'll be awesome.
And it will have everything on there. Because even down to the things like our oils, I'm realizing, like women are
oils are like very important.
Vegetable oil, and they are cooked with coconut oil, like, and everybody thinks coconut oil is good for you, and it is good for you, but you don't cook with it, right? Coconut oil is something you take a tablespoon of and you put it down your throat, or you put it in your smoothie and you blend it up, right? But coconut oil does not stand up to the heat. Okay. So once you've gone over 140 degrees or so, all of a sudden it's just oil. There's no nutritional value, right?
Gotcha.
Same thing with olive oil, right? So avocado oil is a good oil that keeps the heat, right? You can go far in terms of degrees of heat with avocado oil, or grapeseed oil. Grapeseed oil is a good one to cook with too. It stands up to heat well. Hemp seed oil also is great. It's a lot more expensive though, so not everybody would be able to do that or use that on a daily basis. But those oils are better. The salts that we cook with, iodine salt, the white salt, that's like the counter salt, whatever they want to call it. That
table salt.
Table salt. Did I just say counter salt?
Yeah. But people call it that too. Counter flour, right?
But yes, that is also an issue, right? So we want to use things like pink Himalayan salt. That's a much better salt to use,
or Celtic
than a table salt, right? Or a sea salt. or even like a Celtic salt, not necessarily to cook with, but more to like put underneath your tongue and make that dissolve and then drink your water. You wouldn't want to put it in your water.
Really?
Because,
Why? Because that's
yeah,
what I
the
do. I
body
put a little pinch in my water. That's not good.
your body doesn't absorb it like that. Put
Okay.
it under your tongue, leave it
Right.
there for a while, let it dissolve, then you drink your water.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, that's good
So
to
you
know.
know what, what I wanted to jump in and say here right now, is that what I want to caution or bring awareness to our viewers about is that everybody's body is different, right? And everybody responds differently. So yes, red meat is harder to digest, absolutely. But some people, depending on blood type, depending on ancestry, depending on lots of different things, some people thrive. Where a lot of the challenges occur is how our food is prepared, not just prepared at mealtime, but what did we feed the cows that we were eating, right? So are they being fed grass or are they being fed corn, right? So what your food ate is almost just as important as what you are eating, right? And
100%.
it's important to be mindful of your body, mindful of how you feel when you eat certain foods, and cycle through your foods, right? So eating as close to natural as possible and not eating the same thing every day in, day out. But our bodies need variety because there are micronutrients in different types of foods that are not in other different types of foods, so including seeds and nuts. If you're a person who consumes grains, making sure they're whole grains and not processed grains, things like that, really important. Of course, hormone free if we're looking at meat, And one thing I was wondering, Ramona, when it comes to the pesticides and the herbicides and the chemicals that are on your fruits and vegetables, what do you find is one of the best ways to cleanse that? Because, we do want to eat the fruits and vegetables, but we don't want to eat the pesticides and the herbicides that come with it. What's the best way to clean that off the fruits and vegetables before we consume them?
So it depends. So apple cider vinegar is pretty good. Soaking it in water, putting like a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar in there, making it soak. It's something I used to do, and then I stopped doing it because I felt like it changed the taste of it a little bit, which would throw me off. For other people, it might not, but for me, it threw me off a little bit. So to be honest, I just started using like the actual spray, the spray that they sell in the supermarket. Yes. And I would just spray my stuff. Like I just found that was just a lot easier, and just got the job done. But there, as a matter of fact, I am going to actually let you know tomorrow, because there is this, I was doing some research, and there is this, this thing that it's like a powder, and you put it in the water the same way how you do with the apple cider vinegar. And
baking soda?
No, it's not baking soda. It's something else. And I'm gonna find out and tell you tomorrow. And it makes a huge difference as well. But yeah, I just use a regular anti pesticide spray. What brand do I use? The Eco.
Yeah, that's the Eco one.
Yeah, that's the one I use, and just keep it moving. And then in terms of like the things that I can take the skin off, I would. So if it's fruits, let's say for example apples, that it have wax and all these things on it. So I don't even bother to spray that. I just peel it. Because the wax is gonna throw off your digestive system. The wax is gonna throw off your hormones. The wax is just not gonna.
You see how food safety is so crazy and so relevant, because the skin is where all of the pectin is, which is what the stuff that we really, really, really want.
Yeah.
No, but that's
why organic.
But organic is always going to be better, always going to be better. And unfortunately, we shouldn't even have to do that. We should be able to just know that we're buying fruits and it's good and it is organic and there's no difference. But That's not the world we live in right now.
Not always the way to live. So someone made a comment here that says, I think that these herbs that we take affect our hormonal glands, example, adrenal, thyroid, pituitary. And I would recommend understanding how they affect us individually, as some of these herbs may not work the same for everybody. Absolutely. Absolutely agree with that comment. And someone else is asking if there are any limitations for people who are recovering from cancer.
So yeah, I would say that if you are recovering from cancer, no matter which one it is, you want to be extra careful, right? You definitely want, and then of course, you know, in terms of did you do chemo versus did you do radiation? These things also make a difference. So I would say there definitely should be limitations. For me, I'm very anal about like the herbs I use so that for example, there's this herb called dog blood, right?
Yeah.
And everybody's like, oh, dog blood, dog blood. I don't use dog blood in anything, right? If I use dog blood, I have literally made that specifically for that woman, right? Because not every woman should be on dog blood. It's not like a red raspberry, right? It is much stronger. It messes with the uterus a lot. So we want to make sure that, as you said, what we're using, the herbs we're using, it's good for that individual person. So I really try and stick with herbs that are more, it's more women, more people can use it. It's more friendly.
Right. And to add to all your points there, if you are a person recovering from cancer, chances are you still have a pretty good relationship with your oncologist. I would ask your oncologist. I wouldn't ask the oncologist if this can help, because most allopathic practitioners don't really subscribe to the use of herbal medicines. But really the question you want to be asking is, will this harm me? Is there a contraindication of me taking this along with whatever treatment I'm still on, or, you know, those sorts of questions. So, you know, so if somebody had hormone sensitive or estrogen sensitive breast cancer, for example, you may not want to take a soy product.
Right.
Menopause
or red clover as a herb.
Or red clover.
Okay.
Right. But some menopausal supplements do contain soy, because soy is a phytoestrogen. So it does help to support your healthy estrogen levels. You know, but soy is one of the most heavily genetically modified crops. So there's a lot of nuances that you want to be careful of.
Yeah.
And I would say, go ahead.
Yeah, and I would say doing the research on, you know, it's important that everybody does the research.
Yeah. Though, in terms of cancer, though, I would definitely, and of course, do the research. But using soursop leaves, really, really, really great.
How do you use soursop leaves?
Huh?
How do you use?
Like as a tea, like in a tea, like making a tea with it. It is in the holistic world, they call soursop leaf the natural chemotherapy. Okay. So that would definitely be a herb, and it's a herb that doesn't, so as much as it's strong to be able to fight that chemo, to be like a chemo, it's still not too strong for anyone to have. So even if you don't suffer. So for example, I have started using soursop leaves in my womb tea, because it helps with so many other things. But in terms of the cancer aspect, I would definitely recommend that for sure.
Yeah, that sounds very interesting. Before we switch gears, there was just one question. If you're not suffering from any of these symptoms, but you are in the menopause period of your life, would buying the magnesium glycinate be a good idea?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I would say go on a really good woman's vitamin, like a really good woman's vitamin, because again, all of these things is deficiencies. It's deficiencies that are causing these problems. The feeling, the brain fog, all of it. It's deficiencies. So going on a really good female vitamin, and I always recommend, if you can't do liquid, because liquid, again, you don't have to digest it. It doesn't have to break down or anything like that. As you swallow it, your cells absorb it. If, of course, your cells are clean and that kind of thing and healthy, they will absorb them, right? But if we're doing capsules, for example, just again, as I said, female, for the female vitamin in capsule form, just make sure that there's no beef and there's no fat in there.
The fillers and what it's made of.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so we're switching over to Vagina Lady now. That angle. So we do know that during this stage of our life, many women have issues of dryness, painful sex. That whole area just completely transforms. So for women who are going through something like that, what would you say to them? What would you recommend? Where to start, maybe?
Okay. So evening primrose is actually really, really good for that, in terms of if you have vaginal dryness, right?
Okay.
I would also recommend even like virgin organic cold pressed coconut oil, even inserting that, I think would be also pretty good. I love steaming my menopausal women. Well, I love steaming women in general.
Explain what steaming is, please, ma'am. What is steaming?
Okay, so we do vaginal steaming. So I create a blend for you, may it be a herbal blend, may it be a oil blend. And I use some of those doTERRA oils there, Natalie. And I create this blend, and we boil, of course, good healthy water, and they sit over it. And because of the types of herbs that we would use, for example, things like lavender, chamomile, and those types of things, it brings relaxation to the area, and it creates a nice moisture, especially the oil. I would suggest, if you're perimenopause or menopausal, to more use the oil, because it leaves like a little oily residue in the vagina. That helps. And then, of course, that also helps with sex. So for my clients that sex is painful, may it be because of menopause, maybe because of endometriosis, whatever the reason is, steaming really relaxes that area. And then when you actually have sex, it feels great. Like you're swollen in there, you're warm in there, you're moist in there. I don't know if you guys have ever heard men say they love having sex with their pregnant wife. Like maybe she don't really want to have sex all the time because she's pregnant and she's uncomfortable, but the feeling inside of her when he's inside of her is great for him. He loves it. Her vagina is fatter, it's fuller, it's wetter, it's all that good stuff, right? That is what vaginal steaming actually does for the woman in terms of how it feels inside. So I would definitely recommend that also.
Okay, what about herbs, different herbs that you can take, swallow?
In terms of herbs, I would really more stick to the oils than the herbs. If we're talking about making a difference sooner than later, I would say definitely the oils would be a better option.
Okay, oil. So that's good to know. Let's shift down a little bit to sort of like Kegels, incontinence, pelvic floor strengthening, all of that area of being able to, because as we know, going through this stage of our life for women, it is a complete transformation for some women. So let's get started on where to start with that. Kegels, do we do that? What kind of exercises do we do? That kind of thing.
Right. So exercise in general, we want to do that, right? We want to do that. And what is great is when we can incorporate Kegels and exercises. So on Saturday, when I was doing like the short little thing with the exercises, when I do that with my clients, we actually go in different positions, right? Okay. So that we can strengthen the pelvic floor more than you just sitting down, right? So maybe that you go into a bridge, maybe that you go into the yoga, any of these different type of yoga poses. Those things also make a difference because of the weight that we're putting on, where we're putting the weight in our bodies, right? I would also recommend even the exercises itself. So for example, say we're doing squats and you have the weights in your hand and you go down and you squat. When you come back up And sometimes your trainer will say, squeeze, like push your pelvis forward when you come back up. As you push your pelvis forward, just concentrate on squeezing that vaginal muscle inside and releasing it, right? So you can do that with any exercise, really. But there's some exercises that it's easier to do that with, of course. And then,
Ramona,
yes,
I definitely want to underscore this point, and it's something that I speak to trainers about all the time, because trainers are always they coach their clients and they cue you on how to position your body. I'm telling every single male trainer that I can interact with to tell their female clients, cue them on pulling up on your pelvic floor before doing your exercises, because the worst thing that you can do for your pelvic floor is a heavy weighted squat when you are not pulling up on that, because you are actually doing the exact opposite. You are pushing down and weakening that pelvic floor. So we encourage strength training, right? But make sure you pull up on that pelvic floor before you start your exercise so that you are strengthening that pelvic floor.
I agree.
And for those of you that are on the call and going to watch this later, I have actually been to Ramona's office and we have done a one-on-one Kegel training session, and we never know set. Kegels could be so much fun and could be done in so many different positions.
It's a vibes.
I highly recommend booking an appointment, doing the vaginal steaming with Ramona, and also having her run you through a set of Kegels in different ways, because you trust me, you're not doing them the way that Ramona is teaching you how to do them.
No, man, Kegels are a thing. I actually say, it's like I don't say Kegels as much anymore, because when you think Kegels, everybody just thinks about, oh, I'll just squeeze it and squeeze it and squeeze it. And so I like to tell people, like, come on, man, let's make our vaginas dance. Let's make our vaginas dance. So you play music and we either go to the beat of it or this or that, or just like belly dancing. So that's something that I don't do as much here as I used to do in South Carolina. But doing belly dancing and doing belly dancing exercises and those types of things are really like womb dances and womb exercises. And so doing something like that would be also really great to strengthen the pelvic floor. Because I mean, nobody wants to be coughing and sneezing and then pee up themselves all the time and blah, blah, blah. And those things even happen before you get to menopause or any of those things. Sometimes it's just based off of like, you have picnic, and when you have picnic, them things, they happen. So concentrating on that pelvic floor even before it breaks down is always going to be great. But if you realize that there is an issue, I would say if we're doing weight training or using weights, you want to use, it's better to do lighter reps, but lighter weights with more reps than it is to do heavier weights. Or if you want, you can start by, let's say you start with 15-pound weights and you do like one set of that, and then you go down to 10. And then you do the next 4 sets or 3 sets with the 10, so that you're not stressing out the pelvic floor. And I don't know. I find that a lot of trainers, they're not thinking about the pelvic floor. I don't know what's missing, what got lost, but there's something missing there. So I'm glad you're telling them, girl. Please tell them.
Them no. And separate and apart from the Kegels, other pelvic floor exercises include things like dead bug, right?
Yes.
As long
I
as
did that this morning in my exercise. That was interesting. That's I was training this morning.
The important thing when you're doing these exercises, again, though, is to begin with that zipping up, right? So think about that string from the base of your pelvis floor, pulling up, zipping all the way up, and then you engage, whether it's dead bug, which you can Google these things, right? Dead bug or toe taps in a lying down position, or even one that I was taught by a physiotherapist that's excellent, is you lie with what in Pilates you would call your feet in tabletop, right? So your legs are, your knees are bent up in tabletop, and you lower one leg that way and come back up and lower one leg that way. All of these are working deep muscles in the
right, those lower muscles. Yeah. Yeah. And what you can do is as time goes on, or depending on where you are when it comes to exercise and strength and that type of thing, you can always add like an ankle weight, right, to some of these things. So if we're doing the toe touch, you could add the ankle weight. Of course, if you're not usually some of that exercises or something, I wouldn't say to start that way. But for example, someone like you, Natalie, that goes to the gym on a regular basis and you're very toned and you're very, your body knows, exercise in itself, I would say, okay, put an ankle weight around your ankle and do like the toe touch, for example, or the same one where you roll over the whole leg and you bring it around in terms of like that hip motion action. That is something that you can do to add and build, because again, as we do things, the muscle is going to get stronger, and then what we're doing doesn't work anymore because the muscle is stronger. So we have to add to it. So we have to be aware of that as well.
You know what's amazing, just as we're listening here, we talk about doing resistance training, in menopause to build your muscles and things. What you ladies have just talked about was in your pelvic area as well, which is never really talked about. If you think about it, resistance training for your pelvis, for your whole pelvic floor, for menopause. I mean, I think that's incredible that you girls have highlighted that resistance training is not just to, get, nice toned shoulders and all of this stuff, but to get a toned vagina. I mean, for goodness sake.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, this would be a great segue for Ramona to tell us about what that thing is called a yoni egg.
Should I go get it? Let me go get
it. Talk about lifting weights with your vagina. Wait until you see this.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
All right. So let me just grab two for right now. Okay. So this is a yoni egg, right? They have different sizes. This is the medium. This is usually what I would say women should start with. Unless it is that they have like really bad incontinence, then I would say start with the large, right? It is weighty, right? It is made of healing stones. So healing stones, of course, it comes from underneath the earth, and different stones heal different things. So this is a green aventurine. So this is all about healing the heart, and some reproductive stuff, right? Whereas this one is mahogany.
Well, that's pretty.
And so this one is more about like grounding and root. So this would be better for like your root chakra, where this would be better for your reproductive or your heart chakra. Right? So they have all different types, right? If it's black obsidian, if it's jade. Now, if we're talking about, so let's say, for example, okay, so I have incontinence, or I want to tone my vaginal muscles so I can make my vaginal muscles ripple, or whatever it is that you want to do, right? And you insert this, you would then insert this in your vagina and do different exercises. So you would do the Kegels with it. Or you could have sex with it, which is a vibe, guys. Let me tell you. Just imagine, right? Okay, so we know how the vaginal cavity is, right? Like I know some people, we're women, so I guess we would more understand. But the vaginal cavity, as much as it's a cavity, there's like tissues and folds and stuff, right? Throughout the cavity. So what happens is you would insert this inside the vagina, and it would get caught in one of the folds or one of the things. And so then when you have sex, what happens is this egg actually, as the thrusting happens, this egg would vibrate wherever it is. So it stimulates the woman more, and the man also feels the vibration. So it's a win-win situation, right? I don't know. I know Natalie knows. I don't know if you know, Nikki, like about like chakras, right? But chakras are energy wheels that start from the base of our spine, and it goes up. And we're talking about the physical chakras from the base of the spine all the way to the crown, right? The mole, the baby mole, right? So they have different colors that are attached to it, and they're connected to different organs, right? They're connected to different organs. So let's say, for example, I decided that I wanted to use the green aventurine, right, to do my Kegel exercises or to do my unit tuning or whatever it is that I wanted to do, I would know that in using this is also going to probably heal my heart from maybe pain or trauma or abuse or whatever it might be, right? Whereas this one would be more about grounding, more about like your foundation of self, and creating a strong foundation for self to then build on, right? So you have different yoni eggs for different parts of the body. You can, and I always say you want to get to know her. So like when a client buys one, I'm like, listen, you're going to take her home. I give you your Palo Santo stick so you can clean it and keep her, like hold her, put her in your bra, like, you know, like get to know her, right? And then you insert. And this is something that you can insert and just go straight to bed, right? And as you move around and you whatever, your body can get used to it if that's how you want to start first. Or you can start by just putting it in and doing Kegels. And if you're going to do that, I usually say put it in, do about 50 Kegels, pause, give yourself about 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and then do another 50. And then pause, do another 50. And as time goes on, you move from the 50 to the 75 or to the 100 and so on and so forth as the vaginal muscles and the pelvic floor get stronger and stronger.
So when you insert that slippery little egg, how do you get it out?
Okay. So
Natalie's asking all the questions that everybody wants to know the answers to.
Right.
Okay, so there are 2 ways to get it out. Okay, so one way is to birth your egg. Okay. And I always prefer that option, right? The same way how you've taken the time and the energy and the gentleness to insert it, you birth it, right? Which means that you would, I always find squatting is always great. I like squatting for birthing anything. The yoni eggs are birthing babies. The back thing is not it, right? So I would say you can sit on your toilet and birth it, right? It's the easiest way, right? You can actually put your hand down there and catch it, or I tell clients, if you don't want to do that, get one of those strainers, those big strainers that you can put like in the toilet, especially if you're going to go pee. Because let's say, for example, you put it in tonight, you did your exercises, you left it in, you go to sleep, you wake up in the morning, you go to pee, and it comes out because you're peeing and maybe you're pushing or something and it pees and you pee. Instead of having to like go underneath there to catch it, for your hand touch the urine. I mean, some people funny like that. I'm not funny like that, but some people, like, that's gross. They wouldn't want to do that. So you would get this strainer-like thing. Stainless steel, I would always say, is always better, right? Easier to clean, it's better for you. And then you can just birth it in there. If you don't want to do that, you can get the yoni eggs that actually are drilled. So you have the non-drilled yoni eggs and you have the drilled yoni eggs. So the drilled ones, what you would do is you would use beeswax, which usually when you buy that one, I would give that to you. It comes with it. You use beeswax, you push it through, you tie it, and when you insert it and you're finished doing what you do, you can just pull it out with the string like you would a tampon.
So I didn't even know they had those. I didn't even know they had ones with strings.
Yeah.
Or the beeswax, what you're saying.
Yeah. So it's just the whole, and then you can decide what type of string to use, but beeswax string is the best string.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Okay, well, as we're wrapping up, we have another minute to go. We have one question here. What is a good female, well, 2 questions are, what is a good female vitamin? You said earlier about a good female vitamin. What would you recommend?
Okay, so Floradix has a good female vitamin. We just want to make sure that it is the gluten-free version. Okay. I also have a good female vitamin, Feminine Divine, which is made of herbs also, which I also love. It helps also to tone the uterus and these types of things, which are really great. If it is that you're still menstruating, it helps to make the blood be a better color, less smell, that type of thing as well. So that's always a vibe. But what we want to do is we want to make sure that there is definitely things like magnesium, some type of magnesium thing in there. Iron, we want to make sure there's iron. Iron is huge, right? Iron, we gotta have iron in our bodies. Women should be taking iron every single day, right? So we want a high amount of iron in that female vitamin. Now, what you might find is it might be easier to get a good iron here, a magnesium here, a this there, and then instead of necessarily finding it in a female vitamin, that is an option, right? Because again, if you take it as a female multivitamin, sometimes you don't have as much iron or as much magnesium as you personally might need based off of your symptoms or what you're going through. So you might have to add to that. So a female vitamin is not just the answer. You still got to do other things, but at least that's giving you a little bit of everything. And then for those things that you have to work on more, make the magnesium, make the iron, make the vitamin D3, at least you can do that.
Okay, well, I would suggest definitely checking with you, Natalie, as well, because you have a lot of those delicious stuff in your store.
She has a lot of
we carry the Floridics, and this brand here that I absolutely love, Thorn, has a great female vitamin, and this actually is a menopause formula. This one that I have in my hand, called Meta Balance, which has a lot of the hormonal supporting herbs like chaste tree extract, wild yam, black cohosh, and pycnogenol. So we do have quite a bit of options. The answer regarding magnesium glycinate was that yes, you should be taking magnesium glycinate whether or not you're in menopause or not. Magnesium citrate will make your bowels move, so that's not the one that you want. You really want to make sure you're doing glycinate for sleep and relaxation, or threonate for mental clarity and focus. But magnesium, every cell in your body has magnesium receptors, and magnesium is responsible for every single metabolic process. So, and most people are deficient in magnesium.
People are.
Magnesium. Absolutely.
Yeah, magnesium. Trust me, that magnesium and that iron, it's huge.
No, that sounds great. Awesome. You don't know anything about Trinidad. One of the ladies were asking if they have steaming services in Trinidad.
I don't know, but I could always send it to her. So I actually have like the BPA plastic free, phthalates free. It's not plastic free, phthalates free and BPA free plastic thing that you put in your toilet, and then you sit over it, and then the steam comes up. And that's usually a cheaper way to do it than to actually go to a place. But again, it just really depends on, your routine or what you prefer. But yeah, you can steam at home. You can, I'm not sure about Trinidad, actually. I know that there's a place in Fort Lauderdale that does it off of where you call that Sunrise, I think, like probably right in the middle between Tamarack and Sunrise. I can't remember the name right now, but I can look it up and let you know. I am not sure about the type of herbs and that they use. I don't know. I haven't delved too deep into that, but I know that they have that there where you can go there, so I don't know if maybe somebody went and they didn't really like the herbs or whatever the case is, if they could bring their own thing and do it there. I don't know. I could always find that out as well. I mean, I go to Florida.
Okay. Well, yeah, whatever you get, whatever information, especially for Trinidad, and also what'd be good is whatever ones that you say can do it at home. I think that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
That, some people don't want to go somewhere where they do it at home. I think that's great. Well, this discussion has been amazing as usual. Thank you so much for giving us your time. It's been, listen, we're covering all topics of the woman and menopause and perimenopause. So thank you so much. And we will let everybody know in the email your contact information, where to find you, all of that. We are going to put that in an email out as soon as with this recording. So you might get some hits up with that.
Sounds good.
All right, ladies.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, guys. Have a great rest of the week.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.